Tonight's big stories, defense officials eye perjury charges against the two activists who recanted their statements and said they were abducted by the military right in the very own press con of the NTF-LCAC.
The Asian Development Bank trims its growth forecast for the Philippines as commodity prices soar.
And the Senate panel has approved a report recommending the expulsion of offshore gaming operators from the Philippines.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Hall.
And I'm Sean Yao.
We begin tonight with defense officials insisting that the two environmental activists who went missing earlier this month were escapees from the communist movement. The officials say the two may even face perjury charges for recanting their earlier statements. So the backstory is this. The government's anti-communist task force released the two activists yesterday, whom they claimed surrendered to the government troops in Bulacan after escaping the CPP-NPA. The NTF-LCAC even said that the two executed sworn affidavits supporting this claim. Now, that's the government's side of the story. But during the press conference for their release, the two activists, Junila Castro and Jed Tamano, went off script and said that they were abducted by the military on September 2, the day that they were reported missing. The activists added that they were coerced into signing an affidavit during their supposed surrender.
Ang totoo po dinukot kami ng mga militar sakay ng bag. Napilitan din kami na sumurrender dahil pinagbantaan yung buhay namin. Yun po ang totoo. Hindi rin totoo yung laman ng affidavit dahil ginawa yun, pinirmahan yun sa loob ng kampo ng militar. Wala lang kaming magagawa sa mga pagkakataon na yun.
So wala naman po kami sa bundok, hindi po kami armado, tapos dudukotin niyo po kami. Ano pong karapatan niyo para gawin yun?
Alright, so in case you missed this piece of news, the two activists said that they were community organizers helping coastal communities affected by reclamation activities in the Manila Bay. Now, the Army 70th Infantry Battalion Commander Ronel de la Cruz also said that the two surrendered on September 2. And the activists' recantation are part of the CPP-NPA's new playbook that is according to the Justice Department.
And today, the Defense Department faced lawmakers for their budget hearing. Kabataan Party List Representative Raul Manuel took this chance to question them about the supposed abduction of the activists. Here's that exchange between Manuel and Negros Occidental Representative Merceditas Alvarez, who is sponsoring the DND budget.
Would the AFP admit to abducting the two young women, Mr. Speaker?
No, Mr. Speaker, and the AFP plans to file perjury cases or charges against the two.
Early September, meron pong mga kababayan natin na nakawitness ng pagdukot. Pagdukot, Mr. Speaker, dahil may naiwang sandals, may naiwang tsinelas.
Again, there were witnesses during the signing of said affidavit. The stepfather was there, the POW lawyers were there, and I don't think there were they were in any environment that they were vulnerable, Mr. Speaker.
Right, so just to clarify, that did happen on September 12, not September 2, as I previously said.
Well, we can also see Defense Secretary Gibot Teodoro nodding his head in that last clip that we just ran, whilst Alvarez was answering Manuel's question. So, not sure what was
really
going
happened.
in his mind, going through his mind rather.
All right, so the NTF-LCAC is also looking to file perjury charges against these two activists. The question is, who will be defending them? Let's bring in Brian Basa for the answer. Hi, Brian, what do you have?
That's right, Sean. The NTF-LCAC is also studying the possible filing of perjury charges against Castro and Tamano. NTF-LCAC is still in disbelief over their recantation, which the agency describes as betrayal. Earlier today, we spoke with NTF-LCAC Director Jose Mario Chico. He says he personally talked to the two activists before the press con. They even shared their experiences in the mountains with the CPP-NPA. The police and the military believe Castro and Tamano were brainwashed by the communist movement. For now, the two activists are represented by the Free Legal Assistance Group led by lawyer Chel Jokno. The NTF-LCAC, meanwhile, will face the media tomorrow to reveal the results of the military's background check on Castro and Tamano. Back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Brian Basa.
Here's here to talk to us about this controversial press con with the two activists. We have with us on the show National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, ADG for short. ADG Malaya, thanks for being here with us tonight.
It's an honor to be here.
I'll give you a chance to react first. You heard our reporting on the matter. What is your response to that?
We fully support the decision of the Department of National Defense, which they mentioned during the budget hearing this afternoon, that they plan to file perjury charges against the
Ano
two.
naman yung na-perjure, sir?
Well, ito kasing dalawang aktivistang ito, they went to the help of a common friend. They went to the 70th Infantry Battalion in Bulacan for them to surrender. And they were met with open arms by our army. And when they were there, they were met by the Commission on Human Rights. They were met by the Public Attorney's Office. And they executed handwritten affidavits. And these handwritten affidavits, according to the PAO, were done in a room. Pinaalis nung PAO yung ibang mga tao. And then the PAO lawyer, Attorney Bagay, talked to the two women and asked them, ano ba talaga? And then they testified as to the contents of the affidavit. So the PAO lawyers are also standing by the story, and that's also the position of the Philippine Army. In fact, when we had the press con, kami po ay nag-organize ng press con yesterday.
Correct.
Okay? Because we were led to believe by these two that gusto nila magbagong buhay. Okay? During that press con, before the press con, they met with the mayor of Plaridel, Bulacan. And then the mayor, salamat at nababalik ka na sa pamahalaan, hindi ka na ganito. And then all of a sudden, during the press con, nagpalit ng storya. So that's why we're saying...
I don't know about nagpalit because we're only hearing their side of the story. We only heard their side of the story yesterday at the public press con, right? And they said, dinukot sila. They were abducted.
Yes, but the fact of the matter is they
Is
were
that
not.
true?
They were not. Mahirap man tanggapin, but we were betrayed. No? The NTF-LCAC and the Philippine Army, plus the Commission on Human Rights, plus the Public Attorney's Office. We were all taken for a ride by what happened because the press conference was done in a neutral venue. It was done under the auspices of the local government unit of Bulacan, Balet Plaridel, Bulacan. And the mayor was also surprised by the turn of events.
Okay. ADG, nabanggit nyo may affidavit silang pinirmahan.
Yes.
Right? So, dyan maggagaling yung perjury because they already signed these affidavits, I'm assuming.
Yes, these are, hindi lang siya signed, handwritten.
So, sila yung nagsalaysay. Sariling salaysay nila
Yes, and pagdating ng PAO lawyer, pinaulit sa kanila yung sinulat nila. So, they cannot expect na walang accountability yon. There has to be some form of accountability when you swear to a affidavit that was done willfully and without duress.
But outside of the POW lawyer, were they represented by a lawyer when they were writing that affidavit? That's also important, their
Yes.
representation.
Well, the parents of Jed Tamano was there. Okay, Junila's mother could not come because she was in the custody of Karapatan. So, ang sinasabi lang namin dito, Gretchen, Sean, and Regina, is that there are two sides to a story. And we're very thankful to the big story for giving us this opportunity. Kasi syempre, ang breaking news kahapon was dinukot ng dalawa ng military at ganito. But if you look at the optics of it, why would the military abduct two individuals and then present them to the media? It doesn't make sense.
Yes. Tanong lang, no, ADG, meron bang documentation itong pagsuko? May video cameras ba? May CCTV footage ba doon sa opisina kung saan sila pumunta, tumuloy at sumuko?
Yes, there is. And tomorrow, there will be a press conference by the NTF-LCAC in Camp Aguinaldo where we will release all of these videos for the public to make to make their own mind. Sino ba talaga nagsasabi ng totoo dito?
So, kumpiyansa kayo dun sa kumbaga sa side ng story ng gobyerno, kumpiyansa kayo na mapapatunayan niya ito with evidence, with videos, etc.
Yes, because it is not only the Army, but it is also other government agencies. The PNP also released their own report of the investigation. At the PNP said there is no evidence or basis to say that they were abducted.
ADG, na basa niyo po yung affidavit nila?
Personally, me, hindi. No,
Okay.
but our lawyers have done
They
so.
surrendered.
Yes.
What exactly did they admit to doing?
Well, they said that they left Orion, Bataan on September 2 because they decided na gusto nila lang magbagong buhay. So they left and went to a common friend in Guagua. I cannot mention the name. And this person was the one who contacted the 70th Infantry Battalion in Bulacan. And in Bulacan, they surrendered to authorities on September 12. Okay? And the military immediately processed their benefits under the Task Force Balik Loob. Because for rebel surrenderies, you can get assistance from the government so you can go back to mainstream society. So part of the requirements is a affidavit before a POW lawyer. So the POW lawyer went to the camp to talk to these two individuals to find out the truth. And the POW lawyers are standing by.
Were they already persons of interest before this? Kasi sinasabi nila sila ay development worker, tumutulong lamang doon sa coastal communities. Kumbaga tinutugis ba sila at bakit sila nagsurrender?
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
and why are you calling them rebels?
Oh, they are members of the New People's Army.
Do we
How
have
do you know-
proof
how
of
do
that?
you
Yes,
know
we
that?
do, and we will also release that to the media tomorrow.
You have hard proof that
Yes.
these are communist rebels.
Yes, we do, because the credibility of the NTF-ELCAC, the credibility of the Department of National Defense, the Armed Forces is put on the line here. So you might as well come out in the open and let everyone know that these two people, one of them definitely went up to the mountains. 4 na taon po siyang armado, si Junila Castro. Umakyat siya. Okay, and we have people who will attest to this. Because we cannot just stand idly by if these types of accusations are being hurled at our men in uniform and our government.
You might as well show us the proof, ADG. I mean, it's just a matter of hours, right? I
Well,
want to see.
I came here.
Because I'm so curious. My only point is this, because...
I came here to talk about the West Philippine Sea.
Yeah, I know.
Itong si Carol
Teka lang, ADG kasi
That
because this is a very important distinction to make because
Yes.
we cannot be seen as red tagging anyone, right? And I think that's what's inflamed all this.
Yes.
This story is because the question there is the
Okay.
government too quick to call them communists?
Tomorrow,
right?
we will present footage wherein Jonila Castro is being interviewed. And she was asked, na-encounter ka na ba? Opo. Saan? Sa Bataan. Anong guerrilla unit mo? Lino Blast Command. So we will present this all tomorrow.
I don't know what Lino Blast Command
That is the unit, the guerrilla front, which she was formerly part of
in the mountains.
in the
mountains.
mountains. Yes.
Ng NPA.
Ng NPA.
ADG, isang clarification lang po, no? Medyo nalilito nga ako sa September 2 at saka September 12. Nawawala kasi sila or last seen sila nung September 2.
Yes.
Sumuko sila supposedly September 12, right? So
Yes.
between September 2nd and September 12th, do we know nasaan sila?
Based on their affidavit, and I'll just mention their affidavit because that's yun ang pinangahawakan namin. They were in Guagua, Pampanga.
Doon sa friend that
Doon sa
taken
friend, no, the alias ate, which kasi sabi nila, okay, gusto nilang magbagong buhay and they want help from the government. So they looked for a intermediary or someone who will intercede in their behalf to the military so that can be arranged.
Is that the same common friend who acted as a middleman between the military for their surrender? Kasi may isa pang, di ba, yung isa pang ate din.
Well,
na
I think it's the same.
It's the same
It's
ate.
the same ate.
Okay.
Based on
Sinasabi
their
na
affidavit.
sinasabi ng DOJ modus ito, bagong modus
Bagong
nila. It's not the first time that this has happened, that they recanted their statements, affidavits.
Well, I wouldn't really know, no, because I'm just in the National Security Council for a few months together with Secretary Anyo. I think the Army has told me that there has been instances in the past that some of them also changed their minds for whatever reason there may be.
Alright, at anong oras yung balak i-release bukas?
1:30 in the afternoon. Pero ang sabi talaga dito, this interview will be about the West
Okay, ito na,
Philippine Sea.
pumunta tayo sa West Philippine Sea. Sige.
Last na. Sorry.
Marami.
Sorry. We will go to the West Philippine Sea. I just have to get all the facts straight on this particular case. It's a he said, she said case kasi. And
Sabi
since
niyo,
we are
sabi
already
niyo,
here,
pasalamat sa, we're giving you the chance
oo nga,
to
might as well talk
share the
about
side,
it, right?
di ba?
Yung chinelas.
Yung
Yung chinelas. How do you explain that?
Well, I don't know anything about the chinelas because
Okay.
that was
Kasi that's a very clear sign of abduction nga naman.
Well,
Totoo, if may nakakita ng chinelas.
I think the best person, I'm just with the National Security Council. I think that question is better answered by the Philippine National Police because the PNP Bataan are also standing by the results of their investigation. And I think we will have to give them the opportunity. Maybe your team can invite them to the big story or maybe interview them tomorrow
Okay,
to
fair
answer
enough.
those questions.
West Philippine Sea.
There you go.
The president has called on civilianizing the approach to that, to Ayungin Shoal. What does he mean exactly by that?
Well, of course, what we don't want is to increase the tensions in the West Philippine Sea. It is to both countries benefit if both issues...
But in specific terms, what does the president mean?
Okay, the president means, by this the president means that it would be best if civilian agencies are the ones that are at the forefront of law enforcement. And that, I think the president is correct because the exclusive economic zone is part of is the area where we're supposed to enjoy the natural resources there, no? So to strengthen our claim, we must exercise law enforcement functions. And that is done through civilian agencies such as the Philippine Coast Guard.
De-escalate
Yes.
tensions.
Yes. So, meaning we don't send the Navy, we don't send frigates, or we don't send destroyers to resupply Ayungin Shoal or to some other operation, but utilize the Philippine Coast Guard for that.
Though what we have been doing. Nevertheless, we see increasing swarms of militia vessels posing as fishing vessels. And now the newest piece of news, I heard your interview this morning also about the ruined coral reefs.
Yes.
Right. So are we sticking to that plan? And also with regard to the coral reefs, are we sure that it was China who wrecked those? I mean, we are also in the middle of El Nino, and as we know, coral bleaches, and that's what it would look like. So are we absolutely sure before tayo pumunta sa world stage at magsabi na sinira ng China ito is, masisiguro ba natin na sila talaga yung may kasalanan?
Well, all indications point to them, and up to now, there has been no official denial from China. No, what came out in the Global Times is simply an interview with an expert, and we have seen what they have done. For example, in the shoals and reefs that they control, they turned it into military bases with runways and with so really, it's really part of the Chinese playbook for them to start destroying the reefs, working with the coral, dumping stuff, so that they can reclaim and establish a military base.
Bago sila mag-reclaim ng area.
Yeah, normally it's a precursor to reclamation.
Okay.
So, moving forward, we have to validate these findings coming from the divers, from the Coast Guard, and from the Philippine Navy. And that's why we're working with the UP Marine Science Institute so that we can do this scientific research soonest.
Around how long would that whole process take? I mean, that's kind of a large area of seabed that we're looking at.
Well, I think we should start with the shoals that were discovered to have been destroyed. And then we can move to the other areas where there are suspicions that some sort of underwater activities are being done.
This idea of getting China to pay for damage, how realistic is it, do you think?
Okay.
Yung pag-amin pa nga lang.
No, I know, but I mean, people keep talking about it. So, I mean, the idea is fanciful, in my mind at least. But ikaw, I mean, as somebody who's actually working towards this.
I wouldn't want to comment on that because that's a proposal coming from one of our senators. And, we have to give it due respect because it's from a co-equal branch of government. But all I can say maybe right now is that the Department of Justice and the Office of the Solicitor General are thinking about filing new cases against China for environmental damage.
May second arbitral case.
Some sort of a second arbitral case because the OSG has already organized a team to study future legal cases that we can file against China, while the DOJ also has said that they are also supportive and studying the possibility of filing cases against China.
File this case where?
could be at the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. There are several
Also at The Hague.
options. I don't know exactly where it is, but if you read the UNCLOS, there are several mechanisms, not only the PCA, but there are other tribunals where we can file these
PCA
types
is
of
the
cases.
Permanent Court of Arbitration.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, ADG, moving forward, no, since alam na nga natin or pinagsususpetsahan natin that China might be doing some more reclamations on our shoals, on our atolls, what do we do moving forward in terms of surveillance? Are there any plans in the works to maybe make routine checks around that area? We know the Coast Guard goes around, but it is a big area. So is there a plan to be more specific, more routine checks?
Well, almost every day, we have maritime patrols done by the Philippine Navy and the Philippine Coast Guard. But as you said, it's a large area. No? It runs across the entire west coast of the Philippines. Our EEC is very extensive. So maybe this is one of the things that the joint sails can be used for these types of purposes. No? So we
Kaya
have
lang sabi
already.
ng Pangulo, civilianize eh. Hindi ba you
Exactly.
escalate it if you do joint patrols?
May limit naman yung joint patrols eh. The joint patrols will not necessarily be in the areas where there are territorial disputes. It can be in other areas. No, it's more of a sending of message to the international community and to the other claimant states that we have the support of the other nations, and that these nations, like the United States, I've heard interest also from Australia, from Japan, and other countries to join us in these joint sales.
Except Beijing is incredibly sensitive to messages that we send implicitly. You know this, right?
Yes.
So, again, joint patrols, that's two words that they do not
They're
like
allergic.
to hear together.
Yes, but I understand the concern, but we have to push back. We have to push back because, as you said, they damage the environment, they block our
Si
supply
Sean nagsabi
ships.
nun na in case Beijing comes knocking. Si Sean nagsabi.
In a smart
said-
way.
I said allegedly.
Allegedly. Di umano. Hindi. So speaking of that, no, there is a plan to create our own map in response to the new 10-dash line map released by China. Will the Security Council be part of this new map formation or map drafting?
Well, in fact, the map is ready.
Oh,
So all we need now is the approval of the president for it to be released to the public.
Sample, sa mga bookstores and
Yes.
publications.
For
For everyone.
schools,
Okay.
government offices, TV5.
So how different is it from the old map? How different is it from the old map?
I wouldn't want to preempt Malacanang, no? But all I can say at this moment is that the map will reflect our entitlements under UNCLOS.
Oh, okay.
And it will also reflect the decision of the arbitral tribunal in The Hague.
any idea when Malacanang will be signing off on this map?
I hope it very soon. I hope very soon because that's what we're waiting for.
How long have they had it?
Not very long.
Not very long.
But this map was prepared by the National
Namaria?
Mapping, and Resource Institute Authority. If I am,
How many dashes do we have?
Namaria.
How many dashes?
Do we have
There
our
will
own
be no
dash?
dashes there because we've heard reports that there are maps sold in National Bookstore that has the 10-dash line.
Oh,
Or
really?
we have the 9-dash line.
Really?
Yes. Yes. That is also one of those reasons why we want a new map for us.
Okay, so this new map will be adopted as really the new official Philippine map once it is released.
Yes.
Yes, so lahat ng
Yes.
school books papalitan. Naku, laos na naman yung mga alam namin. Kailangan namin mag-review ulit, basically.
Yes. To make a long story short,
Speaking
yes.
of China, may proposals to ban TikTok from government devices.
What do you think?
Well, I've read up on it. Parang may, tawag dito. Meron ngang na-access daw, pero hindi pa,
Yes.
masyadong malakas yung ebidensya sa location and comms and even DMs of mga aktivista sa Hong Kong. Yun yung kaso noon, yung basis for other countries.
Well, not only in Hong Kong.
But
Dito rin
for
ba-
the Philippines, bakit?
Not only in Hong Kong, because there were also instances in the United States where journalists from the Forbes and Financial Times London were were surveilled by TikTok.
To figure out the leak, right?
Yes,
Oo.
yes, to figure out that leak. And TikTok admitted, no? TikTok admitted that one of their staff utilized the data that they have to surveil the journalist from Forbes.
Sorry,
and they fired this person.
How afraid should we be of this app? I mean, tell us what you know.
No, it's the study is being done, and I don't want to, cause panic among the public. We have a interagency committee that's studying this together with the DICT and the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency to study really, if we need to. But the proposal right now is really for the security forces.
It's just for government devices, right? So meaning if I'm a government worker
the
and I have a
security
personal
forces,
phone
sabi-
and an office phone.
Our proposal is really
Dun lang
for
sa-
the security personnel. In other countries, it's for all government devices.
Correct.
But our proposal for the Philippines, at least for now, is for people, for uniformed personnel of the PNP, for example,
Okay.
or the armed forces, or people from the NSC or NICA. Only those individuals should be covered by this ban.
So you have to
including-
get rid of your TikTok account.
I don't have a TikTok account. I don't have, but my kids
Have
do.
you actually spoken to TikTok in the Philippines about this or regionally?
Yes, they
Okay.
have come to visit our office, and we had a very productive exchange of views, and we asked them for a position paper, no, and we thanked them for coming because we wanted to hear their side as well. So, what essentially what they're saying is that there is no threat whatsoever because their ownership structure does not. I wouldn't want to speak for them, but they assured us, no, that the fears are unfounded. However, the decision is government's, so we need to do this thorough study and learn from the experiences of other countries as
So
well.
Australia, Belgium, Canada, doon nila binan sa government devices eh. Sa-
Meron pa Europe.
Europe
Yeah,
din.
exactly.
EU.
They're
European
talking
Union.
about it.
Most of the
Yeah.
countries in Europe have banned TikTok in the devices of their government
But
employees.
I suspect it will not be a popular move if here in the Philippines if you do that, right?
Well, if it covers the civilians, but we're not covering civilians, so students are.
Kahit sa gobyerno, may mga politiko, may mga TikTok eh.
But
But it will
politicians
only
are not-
apply to your official phone, right? Meaning if you have a personal phone, can you still have TikTok on that phone?
I think if you are a part of the security sector, I think a case could be made
Oh, okay.
for your personal phone.
Ano pong
Because
timeline
location
natin?
services are, very critical or sensitive for security
Timeline po
personnel.
natin for this.
I really don't know. Maybe in a month or two, we'll have the study done, and then we will make the necessary recommendation to the National Security Advisor and to the heads of the departments that have security forces, like the DILG, the DND.
Would
and the
this
National
extend
Security
also
Council.
ADG to the NBI and the Bureau of Immigration?
We have heard of those proposals, but
Yes.
as of now, no. But maybe because they're, what they do is also very sensitive,
Right.
so
Yeah.
they might
Okay.
as well.
You
be
know what we'll
covered.
do? We'll check back in with you in a month or so, and hopefully you would have updates by then,
Hopefully.
and then we could do our last TikTok
Hindi
together.
sasabihin natin sa kanya,
Using
I'm kidding, I'm
Gretchen's
kidding.
TikTok account.
But
bumalik ka.
si Gretchen na nagsabi. But for now, thank you so much for joining us tonight, National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya.
Up next, the Asian Development Bank trims its growth forecast for the Philippines. More details on that when we return.
Welcome back. You're watching the big story here in One News. The Asian Development Bank downgraded its growth forecast for the Philippines this year due to high inflation and external headwinds. The lender now pegs growth at 5.7%, down from 6% last April. This falls below the market's administration's target range of 6 to 7% for 2023. The ADB said high inflation and the expected slowdown in major economies like China present downside risks, although there are some bright spots to count on, like public investment, consumer spending, and remittances. For next year, ADB kept its growth forecast for the Philippines at 6.2%.
Now, on the back of mounting pressures on the economy, the number of poor Filipinos continues to increase. A survey conducted by the Octa Research Group in July shows that 5 out of 10 Filipino families consider themselves poor. Now, that translates to around 13.2 million families, up from 11 million in the previous survey. Only 9% said they were not poor, while 41% could not say if they were poor. The polling firm said self-rated poverty significantly increased in Visayas and Mindanao. Meanwhile, 43%, or over 11 million families, believe they are food poor or that they do not have enough to eat for every day.
Now, to top all of that off, claiming fuel subsidies continues to be a problem for thousands of PUV drivers and operators. The subsidy program was earlier stalled because of the election spending ban, but now the COMELEC has allowed it during the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan election period. Some 50,000 PUV drivers and operators have not received subsidies for the new round of oil price hikes. What's more is, the Energy Department sees oil prices staying elevated for the rest of the year, with prices ranging from $85 to $90 per barrel until December. As for proposals for oil companies to buy fuel in advance, the DOE says that won't really help.
The reality is, ay napupunta pa rin po na minsan ang pagpipresyo talaga ng produkto ay kung kailan i-deliver. Wala rin pong effect yan. Ang problema, yung mga supplier kasi din, takot din sila ma-expose sa volatility. Ayaw nila i-lock in yung price kasi baka naman magmahal in the future, sila naman ang malulugi.
Congress has begun talking about suspending the fuel excise tax and VAT, but economists are against it because the government stands to lose some 280 billion pesos from a blanket suspension. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Joey Salceda said that a flexible excise tax scheme would be a better option.
Ang formula po namin na pag yan ay lumampas ng 80, sa bawat $5 na pag-angat sa world market, ay babawasan natin ng piso. Pero kung below 60 naman siya, magdadagdag tayo. So may pambawi po tayo.
Congressman Salceda also cited a provision in the excise tax law that if VAT revenue exceeds the target, it can be used to help transport workers, fisherfolk, and farmers.
So ngayon po kasi, wala akong batas na pwedeng you need a law in order to reduce the excise tax or to suspend it. But there is a law which says na pag ang collection mo ay lampas po sa target, pwedeng gamitin bilang pong para po sa mga fuel price discount sa transport sector, sa mga mangingisda at sa magsasaka.
President Bongbong Marcos, meanwhile, is eyeing a fishing ban and other restrictions in some areas to address overfishing. Marcos said the possible fishing ban is intended for fish breeding and propagation to address overfishing and to secure fish stocks. He added that there are areas where fishing must be prohibited since they serve as breeding grounds. However, a fishers group has said that the fishing ban is only a palliative solution as this won't directly address the fish shortage in the country.
Taon-taon, nagpapatupad tayo ng fishing ban. Pero yung problema natin sa overfishing at pagkukulangan ng supply ng isda natin ay patuloy. Kaya ibig sabihin palliative solution, yung fishing ban, kung ito yung batayan o solution para i-address natin yung overfishing.
We're going to pause for another quick break, but up next, is this goodbye for POGOs in the Philippines? One Senate panel is inching closer to getting online gaming work here banned. When the big story returns, stay with us.
You're still watching the big story here on One News. Senators are backing the call to expel offshore gaming companies from the Philippines. Senate Ways and Means Panel Chairman Win Gatchalian said his committee report has gotten enough support from colleagues. The report has 10 signatures in total, including that of the Senate majority and minority leaders. Gatchalian said the income from POGOs isn't worth the series of criminal activities being linked to its operations.
Hindi naman malaki ang impact sa ating ekonomiya kung nawala sila, pero yung crime na nangyayari sa ating bansa, lalo na dito sa issue ng human trafficking, mga scams, talagang nakakasira sa imahe at nakakasira sa reputasyon ng ating bansa.
Well, if you recall, more recently, sa Pasay, meron silang nahuli na POGO na 28,000 registered SIM cards yung ginamit.
Yan yung sabi ni Secretary
DICT Secretary Ivan Uy was telling us about it.
Oo, tapos may mga ano pa yan, naalala nyo dati, may na-raid sila sa Makati na prostitution hub. Na actually mainlanders din yung mga nahuli, pati yung mga ladies are also...
But as we know, in economics, everything is a trade-off, right? So the trade-off to kicking POGOs out is...
Mababa yung real estate.
That's what
Rent,
the
diba?
brokerages say. It might trigger a real estate crisis. Because you look at areas like Manila Bay area that's got hectares of land, right?
And
a lot of them are... And a lot of... not so much unemployment because there's only, what, a few thousand workers na Pinoy. Kasi a lot of them are Chinese workers that were brought in.
But I'm just curious, meron tumawag sa akin lately, different number. Tapos parang yung boses medyo Indian yung accent.
Ano ba yan?
Philippine number.
Philippine number.
So I was wondering if...
Well, we don't know if they're scammers from elsewhere or
that's
they're
true.
POGO workers. But anyways...
tinawagan ako to ask for employment, HR details.
How scary.
They're getting
Marami
smarter
So
now.
baka may purpose nga to, no? Itong committee report ni Senator Gatchalian. Actually, according to his numbers, 4,000 Filipinos already fell victim to POGO-linked scams since 2017. So Senate now has to still debate on this committee report.
So now that he's got the support, he's got
has a lot
10
of signatures.
It goes to plenary, they debate on it, and again, they're gonna probably invite resource speakers to speak on the impact to the broader economy because the worry there is there might be spillover to the real economy, right? Especially at a time like this when the government needs revenues, right?
Exactly. And the promised 3.2 billion pesos in tax collections under President Duterte's term when he allowed POGOs to operate here, it actually netted only 8.8 billion pesos.
Well, what will happen to the Filipino workers and businesses engaged with POGOs? That's one of the question marks here. Let's bring in Mayan Los Baños for some answers. Mayan, what did the Senate committee actually consider this impact?
Yes, Reg, the committee report also calls on the Labor Department to provide work arrangements for Filipino employees that will be affected once POGOs get expelled from the country. One alternative that has been proposed is transferring them to BPO companies. Committee Chairman Win Gatchalian is also urging the Bureau of Immigration to cancel the working visas of foreign nationals working for POGOs and to have them deported. Reg?
Thanks so much for that update, Mayan Los Baños.
Meanwhile, the Justice Department is looking to transfer to Manila criminal complaints filed before the Surigao del Norte Provincial Prosecutor's Office against members of Socorro Bayanihan Services Incorporated. Now, this is the group that Senator Risa Hontiveros called a cult, which has allegedly been abusing its members, particularly children. Senator Bato de la Rosa also said his office had received a request to investigate the group over its alleged links to the illegal drug trade and private armies. According to DOJ spokesperson Miko Clavano, a prosecutor from Surigao has already recused from the case.
Just because it has reached a level of national importance and it's really a problem that is deeply rooted in that province, it's better to have siguro an independent panel of prosecutors look at the case so they can objectively assess the case and all the allegations inside the complaint.
Matatanda natin, kagabi kausap natin, yung Vice President ng Socorro Bayanihan Services, also three-time former mayor of Socorro
Mr.
Town.
Galanida.
Yes.
At ang sabi niya ay imahinasyon lamang yung mga
Fabricated
accusation.
lies daw.
And it's because of political rivalry. Si Sangko ang
Edelito
yung
Sangko, the
whistleblower
spokesperson
nila.
of the mayor there, Riza Timkang.
Timkang.
Mayor Riza Timkang. Yeah, it's hard to, in a case like this, it's really hard to, to find out what the truth is, right?
Because
Kasi
we
number
need
one,
people
we're
down there.
ang layo natin from the issue, so we don't want to weigh in too much on it.
Pero ito nga, no, aside from authorities and senators, the Social Welfare Department is now also reportedly part of this investigation into Socorro Bayanihan Services. Let's find out why from Julie Baiza. Julie, go ahead.
Sean, that's right. During the Senate hearing earlier today, the DSWD said they are now investigating reports of an alleged cult in Surigao del Norte, supposedly collecting the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program and other cash grants of its members. Over 1,000 minors and their families are reportedly members of the cult. Most of them are allegedly beneficiaries of the state's cash assistance program. According to DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian, the agency is now working at getting their city links and municipal links to pry into the well-being of 4-piece beneficiaries in the area. Gatchalian also said they will look into the beneficiaries of AIX in that region, particularly zeroing in on those barangays, sitios that are in the peripheral of the site of the religious cult. For now, the agency said they will provide the Senate an update on their investigation. Sean?
All right, looking forward to that report from Secretary Gatchalian. Thanks so much for that update, Julie Baiza.
We're going to pause for a quick one right now. Big story. We'll return right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Big Story here on One News.
All right, before we go, it's time for our big picture tonight. Now, this photo has been making rounds on social media. A female screening officer of the Office of Transportation Security was caught on CCTV swallowing some folded bills, which she allegedly stole from the wallet of a departing Chinese passenger at the NAIA Terminal 1. In a statement, the OTS said it has already identified the personnel concerned and that an investigation is ongoing. But if you think that these kinds of things only happen at the NAIA, then you might want to think again. This other photo shows one of two airport security officers from the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, at the Miami International Airport, who were caught on camera stealing from passengers. The TSA has said that it removed the officers from screening duties pending completion of the investigation and administrative actions. Nakakuha na ba kayo ng love letter from TSA? Because when they open your bag, they have to put a card.
Oh yeah, I got one before.
Me too. It freaked me out. And then I started...
What are you guys carrying?
Nothing,
kasi
clothes.
Random yun, di ba? Or pagka suspicious yung, malaki yung luggage mo.
Or feeling ko
they have
minsan,
to
it depends
look
where you come
further.
from.
Yeah, meron silang parang yung
TSA
bukas
key.
ng padlock
Yeah.
to open it. Right?
And in fact, most suitcases have it. If you see that weird little key lock, tas di ka naman binigyan ng luggage store nung lock, that's the TSA key.
But that photo of the airport security here
Pero
has
parang-
been going viral.
But it's so
I
insane.
just-
She swallowed bills.
I know.
Hindi, pero yung problema yata mostly dito pag hand carry mo na yung gamit mo no? But even with the TSA.
Yeah, and that photo has
Both,
been going
both,
viral on
right?
social media.
But they confirmed that it was true. At first, I thought it was
Well, it was caught
a
on
hoax.
CCTV camera.
Yun nga eh. Tapos
Because
totoo-
she apparently they were trying to figure out what happened already. Nag-investigate na. So there was a group there, and then she turned her back to try to swallow the bill.
And then-
Tapos ayun pala, may camera there. She
Pag-ikot
faced the
niya,
camera.
humarap siya sa camera. Tapos kita natin dun sa photo on the right, she is covering her face with a
Yeah.
hanky as she tried to swallow the bill. Yung tanong, paano niya makukuha yung bill?
I don't know. But I just also want to take a moment to sympathize with her because, I mean, you know, people do desperate things these days, right? So I know of course, it's the stealing is wrong and nakakahiya nga naman, which is what majority of the comments online were saying, nakakahiya, another black eye on our airport reputation, etc., etc. But, you know, when you think about as well, what leads
Pulot-pulot.
people to do things like this?
Mahirap ang
So
buhay.
desperate that you would stuff a wad of bills in your mouth, diba? It's sad.
saddening.
It's very sad, yeah.
And that's it for the
And
big
you don't like ending on a sad note. Sige
No,
na,
I don't.
change the topic. Come on, TSA.
Wait, Hamilton is coming to town.
Oh, yes.
Tomorrow. Speaking of.
Yes.
Tomorrow's the gala night.
Tomorrow's a gala night, and if you haven't gotten tickets, you can buy the tickets online. There's still a lot of shows.
It's something that we can be proud of. Rachel Ango.
Oh yes, that's
Part of
right.
that,
She's
right?
starring. That's
So I'm
right.
so excited. I'm going to catch
Hopefully
it
we
this
could
weekend.
try to get her on the show sometime.
Hello, Rachel Ango. Please come on the show. All right, ito na talaga. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are one news, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.